It is,
Hi.
yes.
So actually, it should be Professor Gan here, but he unfortunately couldn't come today. So I'm going to talk. And firstly, we had two really good presentations, one from the Environmental Protection Department and one from Agricultural Food Conservation Department, telling us about where Hong Kong is today. And then we had Professor Dai from Xiamen University and Professor Gan talking about the future issues. So on the Environmental Protection Department, Tony ran through how they have the ordinances which mandate them to look at what are the good things that can come from having good water quality, and then setting standards to meet that, and the progress that has been made, firstly in terms of monitoring our waters well, secondly all the work that's been done over the last 20 years in terms of improving the sewage treatment. So now 93% of Hong Kong's population, the sewage is properly treated in main system. And then for industrial and commercial, how every premise which has significant outputs must be licensed, and those licenses can require retreatment. So I think a lot has been done, and it was very well presented. And then Agricultural, Fisheries and Conservation Department talked about fish, how fish is an important part of our diet. Globally, it's 27%. Hong Kong's a higher percentage than that. But we have very little of the fish we eat comes from our own waters. And one of the things that AFCD has been tasked to do is to look at how we could improve and increase the amount of aquaculture which we have. And the ideas include that we should move to offshore areas where it's deeper water. This little video you can see is a fish cages which are much more typhoon proof. This particular video was taken during Typhoon Hato. It's nearby off Zhuhai, I think. It's not in Hong Kong waters. But if we have fish cages like this, we have them in deeper water, and then we move away from the trash fish to having food pellets. Much more can be done, and maybe we can have a really good sector of the economy there. Then Professor Dai and Professor Gan talked about the project which they're working on together, which goes under the name Ocean Hong Kong. And it looks at the changes that are coming in the future due to climate change, due to the increased level of pollutants which are coming into the waters around here. And one of the issues, as you will see here, is hypoxia, the depletion of oxygen in the water, which causes dead zones, is starting to get much higher in the area between Hong Kong and Macau. And on current trends, it's not a significant problem today, but on current trends it could become a really significant problem. So just running through what are the issues. So hypoxia, this depletion of oxygen which can cause dead zones of the dying. About 65% of the cause is due to fertilizer runoff, and about 35% is on sewage. And hypoxia leads to what we know as red tides. And red tides, they're decreasing in frequency here, but they're increasing in severity and how long they're carrying on for. So it is an issue which needs to be worked on. Another issue is generally global warming. Every 1 degree centigrade we get an increase in the water temperature, we get a 2% drop in its oxygen carrying content. And acidification, as carbon dioxide dissolves in water, it forms carbonic acid. The water gets more acidic. It becomes more difficult for marine organisms to form their shells and their skeletons. And finally, changing ocean currents. This one is an area which is still tentative research, but as the world warms, the polar regions warm faster than the equator. And this could have an impact on ocean currents, which could lead to a reduction in the flow of nutrients and sort of water from the Pacific through the Luzon Strait into the South China Sea, and a reduction in the fish catch in the South China Sea. So we need action in terms of better understanding, better monitoring of our waters, a better understanding of the mechanisms to determine the extent to which the eutrophication, hypoxia and acidification are going to happen. We need to look elsewhere for lessons. The San Francisco Bay Area is a good example where they have been working on these problems very well for a long time. And we need to plan at an ecosystem level. Just sort of saying we're going to sort out Hong Kong waters without cooperation across the border obviously doesn't work. The fish don't recognize the border. We require cooperation both between the government departments and with the other authorities in the Greater Bay Area. Thank you very much.
Sea level rise.